Good evening. Welcome to Simpson at 8. Sitiveni Rabuka has stood in more elections than any other candidate standing in this year's elections. He led the SVT government to victory in 1992 and 1994, lost the 1999 elections with SVT, lost the 2018 elections with Sodelpa, and is now here for a fifth try with a new party that he founded, the People's Alliance Party. What are the policies and vision that the People's Alliance has for the country, and why should people give him and his party their vote? We are joined today by the man himself, Sitiveni Rabuka. Welcome to the show.
Naga.
Right.
Then.
So, third political party, your fifth election, you are 74 years old. Why should people give you the opportunity to run the country again?
I became a father in my mid-20s, and I'm still a father. I became a politician after 1990, and I'm still a politician. And I contribute to my family as a father, grandfather, now great-grandfather. My style has changed, but the love and the care I have for the people in my family are the same, and they've grown. And I feel that I should continue to contribute to my family as a father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. The same contribution I can also make to Fiji as a politician. In the SVT, in Sodelpa, now with the People's Alliance. And I want to, my vision of Fiji being a vibrant, multicultural, multi-ethnic society still remains. Some aspects of it may have changed as people have changed, as the composition of our population has changed, so I must adapt and continue to evolve with the society I intend to lead.
Okay, so you're talking about evolve, and then Bainimarama said a snake can change its skin, but it'll always be a snake. What's your response to those comments? I mean, you've talked about running a family, but running the government is tough business, ruthless business, and it can get, very, very difficult at times. So, how you at this age and at this time in your life be able to show the people that you are the changed person that you say you are?
A snake does not change its skin. The skin just falls off as a result of the snake growth. And the same goes with human beings. We grow and the old traits disappear, replaced by new ones. And in that way, you conform to the changes in society and the demands in the society that you lead or you interact with.
You said you've made mistakes in the past and that you're a changed person. What are those mistakes and what exactly is it that you're different now? You're a more, what makes you different?
The only, the big mistake was the coup, listening to failed politicians and being disloyal to the oath I took in the army. And that for a professional soldier is very hard-hitting. But that is done. You cannot undo that. So you must live on and fight on.
The fight is between you and Bainimarama. It's a clear choice. You are both coup leaders, and then you that went on to become prime ministers. So what is the difference between you and him?
I am older. I am more mature. I admit my mistakes, and I have great compassion for the people who will vote for me, and even those that will not vote for me, because I have a very sincere, deep-seated compassion for Fiji and its people.
This is politics, and it's down to track record. Bainimarama and the Attorney General have made much on the campaign trail about their track record compared to yours. I mean, there's some listed here. They brought free and quality education. This is from their campaign material for all, with initiatives like free bus and textbooks, TELS, and other schemes. The Fijian economy, regarded as one of the strongest periods, recorded one of its strongest periods in 9 years of consecutive economic growth from 2010 to 2018, providing $1,900 to farmers to prepare for hilly land for sugarcane production. Fijians have now better tar seal road and 4-lane roads, bridges and jetties, over 4 billion invested by Fiji First government. They said Rabuka's SVT government spent less than 20 million annually on roads and bridges, and that he gave equal rights, opportunities, and identity to Indian Fijians. What's your record against this?
We built everything that they have built on. We built everything that they have improved on. All the things they're talking about were built or improved onto the very basic infrastructure that we built. And 20 million they're talking about at that time equates to a few hundred millions of today. They must understand the value of the dollar and what $1 then brought and what $1 now brings. If they will understand the purchasing power parities in the dollar.
So you say they didn't do anything new? This is building on what you guys had started?
Yes. Yes, they built on those. Have they given any new buildings to any of the provinces on the BOT scheme? Education was free, partly free from the colonial days. We built on that. What they have not done was to maintain and improve on the standards of the infrastructure that we left, which is the responsibility of any succeeding government. And they have failed in that.
One thing that they've said, that Maini Marama has said, has made him gain traction amongst particularly the Itoke and other communities, is that he has regularly visited and delivered services to rural areas and delivered good social welfare policies for the elderly and such, something that he claimed you neglected during your leadership. He's visiting places where people say, this is the first Prime Minister that has visited us. This is you're the first Member of Parliament to have visited us in a lifetime. So what is your response? Could you have been a better leader? Will you be a better leader? And are you surprised also with the support that Fiji First is getting within the Itoke community?
Well, the difference, the basic difference there is I'm a team player. When I led government, it was a government of many ministers. And those ministers were expected to visit the constituencies when functions in relation to their ministries happened in those places. So when there was a health facility opened, the Minister for Health would have gone out, the Permanent Secretary of Health, in infrastructure development, in the Minister for Works or Regional Development would have gone out. So the Prime Minister did not have to go out. And we were representing geographic areas in our constituencies. And those constituency representatives were expected to be regularly visiting their constituencies. That is the difference. There lies the difference between what is now happening with one national constituency and the geographic constituencies of the past.
Another thing that's happening is that they've gone to people have asked them, given them their problems, and they've effectively delivered. Basically, because the Prime Minister says, get this done, and it gets done. That's kind of different from when you are running your government with your team players.
Yes, it was different. In our
things
case,
was taking too long to be resolved.
Well, in our case, it had to be done through cabinet effort. We come and consult in cabinet, and it depends on what we have budgeted for the year. You cannot just bring in a new project, which will totally hijack our budgeted plan for that financial year.
All right. You're watching Simpson at 8. We're with People's Alliance Party leader Sitiveni Rabuka. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. You're watching Simpson at 8. We're with Sitiveni Rabuka, leader of the People's Alliance Party. You're now entering the final week of the election campaign with some of your key candidates under investigation right now as we undertake this interview and could possibly be charged. What is your take on what's happening?
Well, I went through the same in 2018, and the verdict of the court was delivered on the last day of campaigning, and I couldn't publicize my joy because we were into the blackout period. So it's something that politicians not in government should expect, and that's why I had warned our candidates and our party workers, be very cautious. You're not administering the law, so stick to the law.
Is this one of the reasons that's driving the
No.
decision you're making to remove FICAC?
No, removing FICAC is part of the evolution in the administration of law in Fiji. A lot of the countries that had a FICAC-like administration in the law in those countries, removed them when everything stabilized. In our case, we had to go into that, particularly after the coups of 1987 and the immediate years after that, when there were allegations of corruption. Then we had to look at that. And NBF was one of the things that we brought FICAC in for, to investigate NBF, which was an embarrassment to the SVT government, but it was brought on.
There was no FICAC in your time?
No.
All right.
It was brought in after. So
brought in by the Bainimarama government?
It was by the Bainimarama government, yeah. But the idea was there. I picked up the idea when I was in Hong Kong, to the early stages, coming close to the end of the lease of Hong Kong. There was a lot of rackets and racketeers around at the time, so the British colonial forces of Hong Kong had to introduce those before the transition or the end of the lease of Hong Kong and the land going back to China.
Bainimarama has strongly condemned your proposal to remove FICAC. Say it's a key reason why Fiji has become a less corrupt country and bettered its ranking on Transparency International's corruption index. So, what are you, when you're removing it, what do you intend to replace it with? Who's going to do the investigations on corruption then?
The main instrument for policing is the police, and investigation is the police. And we redeploy into the police force our personnel and material from FICAC.
Will the police be well equipped to do this? I mean,
well, you're not equipping them. You just
do they have the expertise? You know,
the same expert available in FICAC will be deployed into the police force.
And you think that will be as successful as how it's operating?
I believe
right
so.
now?
I have confidence in the force as a force, and given good management, good leadership, they can very well. They are interacting with the international police community. They have international training, so we should be staying abreast with the trends of crime, trends of corruption that's going on all over the world.
So you're not really removing it, you're transferring it. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yeah, not at a single independent entity. Instead of the independent commission, it becomes part of the police.
Do you think it's prone to be more interference from within the police force than as an independent body?
Say that again?
So if it's within the police force, do you think there'll be more interference, potential for interference, than it standing?
From
being
whom? Who will be interfering with?
Well, you know, from the police hierarchy and stuff, instead of it standing alone as an independent body.
Is it standing alone?
Well, it's an independent body right now.
What about the allegations of it working to somebody's orders and tune?
So you think that's what's happening?
That's not happening.
You think that's what's happening?
I think that is what's happening. So we need to just send it on to the main policing agency, which is the police.
One of the key issues that you and Bainimarama have clashed on strongly on is the Itoke issues, and in particular on the Great Council of Chiefs. Bainimarama says there is no need for that body to be reinstated. His exact words, what is the use of the GCC today? Bainimarama says children and people today not only want education and employment, not the GCC, that the body has been used to serve people's political agendas. So why is reinstating the GCC important to the country?
Fiji needs the GCC. We need the calming voice of the Great Council of Chiefs and their advice and their age-old or age-generated wisdom to be used in guiding and advising those people in government. I think it is very un-Fijian to say that we do not need the Great Council of Chiefs.
You think it's un-Fijian, but you think it's a priority?
It is a priority. It needs to come back in the first 100 days of our leadership.
The key issue some see here, Mr. Rabuka, is that a lot of the chiefs are involved in politics. So yes. How will their involvement be in the GCC? You know, how can they separate that?
The Council of Chiefs is a political body. it's a political body. What is politics? It's not the politics you talk about in Parliament. It's a school of ideas. And the school of ideas in the Great Council of Chiefs is different from the school of ideas we have in Parliament. They have their own concerns for the people they lead. They have inherited leadership of those little groups, and they must continue to exercise their God-given roles of leadership in the society that we live in this multicultural society.
So you're saying just advisory body?
Yes.
Because you say it's political. Does it, like in the past, appoint the president?
In the past, they appointed the president.
What will your new GCC reinstated
They
one
can,
look like?
if the constitution is changed and that role goes back to them, they can be doing that.
You've also proposed, I've seen in one of your videos, proposed a new concept of it being in a House of Lords kind of format. You know, can you explain how does that work?
That works when we have the Council of Chiefs not just as an assembly of traditional aristocracy. It'll be a combination of the traditional aristocracy and meritorious citizens who sit in it like the House of Lords.
But that's for the GCC to decide.
They will have to decide.
All right.
That.
So again, I want to ask this: how would you ensure that what Bainimarama said in the past, that the GCC is not compromised or manipulated by politicians or power brokers to suit their own agendas?
The Council of Chiefs will have the wisdom to see through those who may want to interfere with their chiefly counseling council.
Even if they don't agree with each other?
Even if they don't agree with each other.
Bainimarama has alluded to bloodshed and instability if you come into power, as you bring pro-Itoke policies ahead of other races, including talk of supposed plans to return freehold land to landowners. Did you bring up any policy such as that? What is your response to these statements? I mean, you've heard him say these things.
Well, freehold land is freehold land titles are sacrosanct, and I said that before. They cannot be alienated apart from the proper processes of sale and purchase. And governments in the past, including the SVT government I led, had facilitated the sell-back or buyback schemes for freeholders to sell their freehold land. It's happening all the time. Freehold titles are changing hands all the time when they sell to other freeholders coming in to buy the freehold titles. But it can be bought back by traditional owners or original owners in a scheme where if they do not have the funds available to do an outright purchase, it can be facilitated by them, by government guaranteeing their loan in one of the financial institutions for them to pay off.
So it's basically about buying it back. It's not about changing land status from freehold to native lease.
No, you cannot. You cannot.
You cannot do that. No. All right. So what did you think led to that statement being made by the Prime Minister?
I think they were reading into it according to what they already had predetermined that they would like to attack me on, and it is very unfortunate when you have national leaders who are not intelligent enough to read what is being said and also gauge what is meant.
Your response to the statements by the commander this week in terms that the military needs to respect the voice of the people and the will of the people, how encouraging was that?
That was very encouraging, and it brought to an end a lot of anxiety on the parts of those who were thinking that the commander would do what Bainimarama did in 2006. What he said echoed the words of Ratupeli Nalitkau when he was commander, and the commander-in-chief at the time, Ratupenaya, that we should respect that. And my advice to the commander is to be aware of what's happening in the officer corps so that no one from the outside can interfere with his command, as happened in 1987. That
you did?
Yes.
All right. And have you had discussion with the commander and the police commissioner?
No, I've respected the independence of his position, and I've respected the relationship he has with the minister responsible for the Army.
You're watching Simpson at 8. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. You're watching Simpson at 8 with the leader of the People's Alliance Party, Mr. Sitiveni Rabuka. Now, you're in partnership with Biman Prasad and the National Federation Party. How would you describe your partnership?
It's a very cordial relationship. It started with the forging of across-the-floor cooperation during the 1994 to 99 Parliament, when we very positively worked together. And I worked together with the National Federation Party then. I was with the SVT, and with our GVP partners, worked very well together. And it was sort of cemented by the words of the late Justice Jairam Reddy when he spoke to the Great Council of Chiefs, imploring that, sort of appealing to them, making them realize that they were not just chiefs for the Itoke, they were chiefs of all the people of Fiji. So I have kept that, I've treasured that appeal from Mr. Reddy, and I've taken that on board as part of my responsibility as a national leader to continue to forge that relationship across political divides and across ethnic divides.
All right, so it's not just a marriage of convenience, as
never. It was never going to be.
Just the alliance to defeat Fiji first.
No.
How genuine is?
No, we were determined to fight Fiji first on our own, and I'm sure Federation Party would have wanted to set themselves that mission also, but knowing the intricacies and the difficulties of the current election setup, it was wise to go into a post-election coalition.
You negotiated and facilitated for Jairam Reddy to be the first non-Itoke to make a speech at the Great Council of Chiefs way back in 1997. What does this opportunity with Biman Prasad present to the country?
It presents
that opportunity in 1997 was not taken with a defeat in 99. What does this opportunity present?
Well, I think this time it'll be more time to work with them. In 99, we only had 97 to 99, that's less than 2 years, to educate our voters to embrace each other, and also with their those that capitalized on the perceived cooperation as a betrayal of a singular race group. For example, the Fiji Labour Party leader used that cooperation to attack the National Federation Party of going into partnership with a coup leader, a nationalistic coup leader, Rabuka. And the Itoke nationalists used that against me to say that I had left my position and what I had promised the Itoke and gone into partnership with the Indo-Fijians.
You're seeing it as a coming in the middle of a more and more moderate parties.
Yes.
In your regard. So what is the PEP NFP vision for Fiji?
I think we will slowly work towards a united political grouping for the future politics of Fiji.
You have hit the government hard on water cuts and power cuts, so basically there's still a problem that's happening now. What is your solution?
The solution is periodic or constant repair. We built a lot of the pipelines that they now use, and they should have progressively repaired and upgraded them, and also keep it abreast with the population growth in the urban areas. There has been a sharp increase of the rural-urban migration in Fiji, and the demand in the urban areas has grown faster than the natural population growth. So infrastructure development in those areas should have kept abreast with the more than normal increase in the population of the urban areas.
A lot of resources put into it?
Should be more. There should be more resources put into it. Our problem is that we do not have enough resources of finances to put into it, because a lot of our money is spent on debt service.
One of the other issues that that has gained attention as well is your policy to remove TELS and replace it with what?
We replace it with government scholarships. And government scholarships will entail a service bond at the end rather than a cash loan for the students to pay back.
You will say you will remove the debt?
Yeah.
That's correct?
Yes.
And basically go to a thing where people serve a bond?
Yes.
Of 3 to 4 years. So, okay. Will it be ethnic-based, which is the criticism?
No, the government scholarship will not be.
So it won't be like how it was in the past, the FAB.
FAB was not a government. FAB was not a government scholarship. FAB was FAB scholarship.
Fijian Affairs
funded
at the time,
by government funds allocated to Fijian Affairs.
But you did allude to some of it in a recent interview.
Because the ministry can allocate in their budget. They can have a subhead or an expenditure group that's on scholarship or training, and they will use that for scholarships given by the ministry for those that come under the ambit of the administration of the ministry to further their education.
So you will have a general one that's what, merit-based?
Merit-based.
With a standard mark like 300 plus.
Correct.
On it, and you'll have you say ministries can have their own.
Correct.
In terms of for the constituency that they cover. It's not the racist policies, the return to racist policies and regressive policies that lead to racial discrimination, as has been advised?
Yeah, isms are now being used by many people. Racism, but we don't use it in other areas. We discriminate against the young by looking after the old. We discriminate against men when you look after women. So let us just say we will allocate funds to cater for whoever is in need.
In the past, there were a lot of issues raised during the 90s, during your time with the awarding of some of these scholarships that was given to children of the elite or the children of chiefs or important people ahead of those with higher marks, and the success rate of that was poor. There were people studying at USP for 4 to 5 years despite repeated failures. So how will you ensure that is avoided?
It didn't happen in my time.
There is word that that was happening during your time.
Never in my time.
This was not happening?
No, not in my time, because I made sure that those that could afford to pay for their education paid, and everybody who went through that system qualified by merit.
Okay, and that's going to happen again this
Correct.
time around. You're focused on winning the elections, but people are apprehensive about what there's been talk about the uncertainty about what will happen after the election if PEP and NFP win. So do you have a plan, should you win, on how you will handle the situation and assure the people that there will be stability and security in the country? What will you do? Results are announced on the night of the 14th towards the 15th, on the weekend. What's the next steps you will take to keep the transition moving smoothly?
I intend in the long run into that government to chair the National Security Council, and those will be one of the first ones that I will call, even on the night after the election victory is declared, and I will be calling on the commander and the Commissioner of Police and everybody and the Ministry of Defense to have a briefing from them, and also be aware of whether they are aware of any plans to disrupt the services of the new government.
And for those that would not have voted for you, what will be your message?
Well, I'll just tell them I'll be a government of all the people of Fiji, whether you voted for me or not.
What will the Rabuka government look like compared to a Bainimarama government?
Mine will be a government, a nation of people at peace, people who will not be looking over their shoulders to see if the police was after them, if FICAC was after them. They will not be wondering whether anybody is eavesdropping on their discussions. It will be a free nation, a happy nation, one where everybody is welcome to their views, their personal views will be respected, their freedoms will be respected, group freedoms will be respected, and group interests. So a great nation built on love for one another, love for the nation, and also dictated to by our love for God.
Sitiveni Rabuka, thank you for joining me on Simpson today.
Naka.
Naka. That was Simpson at 8 for the evening. Stay tuned for continuing Simpson at 8 election coverage. Good night.